Good afternoon and welcome to Mountain Valley Today. We're so glad you chose to join us, and let me remind you that you can watch this episode and many others at mountainvalleynewspaper.com. You can also watch us on Farmers TV, Channel 6, and also at WFPA. You can listen to the broadcast on Thursdays, and that's at 6 o'clock. And we're so glad to have you with us. Today we have Derek Caldwell. Derek, we're so glad to have you with us.
It's good to be here.
He's running for county commissioner, and what place is that?
Place 2.
Place number 2. So we're going to start off and let you viewers hear, let Derek explain who he is, and then we'll jump into some other questions. So Mr. Caldwell, tell us about you.
Well, like you said, my name's Derek Caldwell. My wife's name's Karen. Between us, we have 5 kids, 6 grandkids. Most people know my mother and daddy. They was Max Caldwell and Eloise Caldwell. Technically, I'm a farmer by trade. I've got poultry houses and I raise beef cattle. Enjoy the outdoors. Just a country boy, I reckon.
I've always heard there's nothing like grandchildren, so can you say amen to that?
Amen.
Well, I appreciate you coming and being with us today. You've been on the commission before, the DeKalb County Commission, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So tell us why you ran, and why do you still want to run again?
Well, I have a passion. I love to help people. And this is the best opportunity that I've had in my life to be able to help people. I tell everybody that, they say, well, you probably get a lot of calls with complaints and stuff, and I don't look at them as complaints. I look at them as concerns, because most of the stuff that people ask for, they should have had it anyway. And, it's just a need. And I love helping people, and I feel like the good Lord opened this door for me a little over 3 years ago, and I've had a good opportunity to talk to a lot of people, witness to them, and to help them.
Now, what place did you run for, and you're seeking again? What place is that?
Well, it's actually considered District 2 County
Okay.
Commissioner
Okay,
of a place like they do in the cities.
Okay, District 2.
Yeah.
And so what area does that cover?
Well, District 2 is the largest district in DeKalb County. District 2 has 564.8 miles of county roads.
That's a lot.
Yeah, if you wanted to look at it on a map, you could start at Matheny's Bridge over there where County Road 56 ends if you're coming from Section. It goes up and it circles around part of 5. Part of the city limits of 5 is in it. It goes on over and goes up 50, goes off the mountain there at Pete's Corner, and then County Road 221, it goes down the valley, crosses the Highway 68 to Alabama Highway 68, and then it turn on into County Road 223 and goes all the way to the Etowah County line. And then from there, I border Etowah County, Marshall County, and then Jackson County all the way back up to Matheny's Bridge again.
So, have you walked all those miles, or?
No, sir. It takes a while to drive them. When I said there's 564.8 miles of county road, remember that does not include Highway 75, 68, 168, 227, all the state roads in my district. That's just county roads.
Well, it sounds like you know that district and you know it pretty well, so I think that's a good thing.
Well, like I said, there's a lot of miles and stuff. That's the reason that I don't use these phone calls as complaints. I mean, it's hard to cover that many miles without, with the lack of manpower that we have and the time consuming. So, you have to rely on the public to notify you of problems and stuff that you can take care of.
Well, that's great. We appreciate you knowing that district and knowing it well. Tell me some qualifications that you have in order to do this job effectively. Now, I know you said you like helping people, but tell us some more qualities you bring to the table that help you do this job and do it well.
Well, I have been in business and management my whole life. I managed hosiery mill for one company. They moved me to managing the mill, and then they moved me to managing all three mills. And I'd done that for about 11 years, and then two men bought a mill and wanted me to go in partnership with them and manage it, and I'd done that for about 17 years. So I've been fortunate to have some business experience to bring to the table. And of course, you know, after I come into the commission, the state mandates that you have to do 50 hours within the first year of training through the ethics and through road and bridges and all of this other stuff, and working with the other county offices. And they have an advanced training course that you take that's 70 hours. So in my first year and a half of term, I completed 120 hours
Wow.
of training.
Well, I know that that's something you do on your own time, and we appreciate all that work, because I know you're learning a lot in those classes. I've been to some of those myself.
Yeah, they're informative. It's more detailed than you would actually think that it is, you know. And with ethics laws and stuff now, you don't just go out and do what you want to do. You've got a pretty tight guideline to run inside.
And that, I think that's good for all of us. And if you don't know, if no one's ever told you those, you'd like to do whatever you could, but you got certain limits, and we don't want to get in trouble with the Ethics Commission.
That's true. I've got a little saying that I tell a lot of them that'll call if they ask for something out of the way. And most of it's joking with friends that say, hey, how about paving my driveway or something? I said, what color do you want your house painted while I'm there? If I'm going to do that, I might as well take it all the way.
Well, I never heard that one before, but I might need to try that one in my few months left of city government. What's your number one priority that you'd like to maybe change or even continue that you're currently have the experience in? But I know everybody's got a prioritized list of things you'd like to do. Tell us about yours.
Well, basically anything that's betterment for the county. One pet peeve that I have, I'm 55-year-old, be 56, and I currently live on a dirt road, and I've lived on a dirt road my whole life. When I took office, like I said, there was 564 miles of roads. In District 2 alone, there was still 138 miles of dirt roads in District 2, which that's actually over half of the miles of dirt road that's in the other districts' total road amount. So by living on a dirt road, it was a pet peeve of mine to try to upgrade as many dirt roads as I could to help them folks out.
Yeah.
And since I've been in office, I've managed to convert, I think it's about 27, 28 miles of dirt roads and upgraded them to dense grade calcium chloride roads. And with several more miles of roads in project, you know, I mean, that's scheduled for the rest of this year. Of course, we can't do this stuff during the winter time, so all that's on hold right now.
Yeah. Well, I know. So your money and your resources are limited with paving. People say, "Well, just go pave it," but it takes dollars and resources to do that. And you know as well as I do that money is hard to come by sometimes.
Yes, sir. It sure is. The way DeKalb County is set up, we have the 4 districts. Of course, you know, we have to do our budget every year, and it has to be finalized, you know, in July is when they want it finalized, but we try to get it finalized. And time you take care of all the other offices, basically the money that we have to upgrade each road has been averaging approximately $175,000 for each commissioner to work with. Just to give you a little example, if I upgrade a road from the dirt road, and I call them dirt road because we don't have much chert. But if I upgrade it to a calcium chloride road, it's costing us about $22,000 a mile. To do the old tar and gravel road right now is about $43,000 a mile. And if somebody wanted asphalt right now is running over $70,000 a mile just for like an 18-foot road.
Yeah.
So you can see with a budget of $175,000, you can't do a whole lot. But, you know, through the help of some of our legislators and stuff, we've been able to acquire some extra monies and do some upgrades.
And that's one thing that I'm hearing through the legislature is they're trying to do a gasoline tax to help bring some money back to our local county governments to help pay for some of those infrastructure things of paving roads. Now, people can be one way or the other, and that's for each individual person, but you've got to get revenue somehow. And I believe the argument they used was the cars were getting better gas mileage and people were buying less gallons, and so you know, that's something for the people to think about and decide. But it is difficult when your funds are limited to pave too many roads. But it sounds like you're using your money wisely and trying to upgrade them as best you can with those resources.
You know, we're trying to. Of course, the state helped out a whole lot the last couple of years when the government implemented the A-Trip program that they call. I was able to get 3 big projects in on it. One of them was a bridge replacement project. The other one was on the south end of my district, a paving of a road that cost about $1.4 million. And then one in the upper area of my road, and I mean my district, and I think it was $1.3 million. And this was money that didn't come out of the taxpayers of DeKalb County per se money. It was a lot didn't help through the government. So just little projects like that helps. And
those bridges, they're not cheap, are they?
They're not cheap. They're not cheap.
Well, you know, all my life, I have been one of these people that tried to hide my imperfections. You know, we all have shortcomings. We all have things in our life that we need to work on and do better at. And that's one of the things I've asked every individual that sat in the chair across from me. Tell us something about you that is a weakness or a shortcoming that you'd have to work on or continue to work on as you hopefully enter in this next term.
Well, to start with, whenever I got into it, to be honest with you, I had attended a lot of county commission meetings and I knowed a little bit about what was going on. But until I guess you actually got in there and seen everything that's up front, behind the scenes, and all that you had to deal with, it was scary. And I had some weaknesses at that time, and I had thoughts and going through this schooling like, what have I got into? And then, you know, when people calling with concerns and stuff, and people had a need, I guess I tried to put my weaknesses aside. A lot of stuff that I didn't want to do or had rather not done, as far as, you know, the talking to people and just calling the legislators and the senators and hounding on them and all. You know, I just felt like I needed to go to bat for them. So I feel like most of the weaknesses that I've overcome that I had, but that would probably been one of them, you know.
It is a challenge when you're a business person, a private person, when you become in political office. People want to call you, and when you go to the church or grocery store, and they got something they want to talk about, a burning issue. Yeah. And you know, we have to make sure we listen to them.
Well, what I've found over this last 3+ years is, you know, DeKalb County has changed over the last few years. They used to be what was called a district system. They're not a full unit system. They went to what they call a modified unit system. And so things are sort of done a little bit different now. You know, I have people, I had a text message come in last night and said, "You're our road commissioner, ain't you?" And I just sent back and said, yes, I'm your road commissioner, but the commission is more than just road commissioner.
Yeah.
You know, they used to be road commissioners. Now the commissioners handles all local government. You know, whether it's from the sheriff's department, probate judge's office, revenue office, you know, anything in the courthouse. So it's really more detailed than what a lot of people thinks. And I'm not saying by no means that people are stupid or ignorant, but they're not educated to the fact of what commissioners does and how, you know, how intense it can be.
Yeah. You're pulled in a lot of directions, I'm sure, and they want you to know it all, and it's hard to learn it all right off the bat, and there's a learning curve, I call it. You know, you jump in there and do the best you can, and I've been to council meetings, and I'm sure, like you've been to commissioner meetings, and you think you have an idea of what it is, but once you're in that seat, there's a whole lot more to it than you probably thought it was.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's very detailed. I guess I'm the type person when I get something on my mind, or back when I tournament bass fished, I went all out. If whatever it is, I go all out. I'm full-fledged at it, and I guess it's total commitment when I do something. So when I took on this county commission, I went the same way. Like I said, you know, the mandated training that I had to do so many hours, the 50 hours within the first year that was state mandated, and the other 70 hours I had the completion of my term to do it. But I went ahead and applied for the courses, took them, and to where I could do the best job that I could.
Right.
And I had all that under my belt within the first year and a half, so I was committed to it, and that made the job a lot easier.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit back and wonder, am I doing this right or what's wrong? So, you know.
Well, tell us something about Derek Caldwell that nobody knows. I mean, you know, we all have a past, and I'm not saying give up all your secrets, but you know, one of the things, I used to do radio years and years ago when I needed a part-time job. I worked at a local radio station. I did that because I love Southern gospel music, so I was a radio DJ, and not many people know that. Well, I guess they do now. And so tell us something about you that most people don't know.
Ooh, that's a tough question. You know, I'm an open guy. I tournament bass fish for years, so there's a lot of people knows me from bass fishing. Of course, a lot of people knows me from church because I attend a lot of churches, you know, and a lot of people knows me from that. I guess the one thing that sort of pops out that a lot of people don't know is a young lady opened up the Grove Oak store here a while back. It's just been recently reopened, and we was talking, and I was trying to help them out, and me and a couple of other guys committed to go down there and do a little picking and grinning for them.
Okay.
And I've sang some at churches, and I've sung some with different ones, but a lot of people don't know that I sang. So a lot of my friends said, hey, I seen it on Facebook. You was going to be down there singing. I didn't know you sung. I said, well, bring your earplugs and come on. You know, so I guess, you know, me trying to sing. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
But now we had a ball down there and enjoy it, but that would be the only thing that I can pop up with, because
Now, what type of music do you sing? You sing gospel, bluegrass, or
gospel.
Okay.
And it's on a bluegrass style because I growed up in bluegrass music.
Okay.
And
Well, maybe we need to have some entertainment. I think Judge Osborne has a band, so maybe you need to be the featured singer one night.
well, I don't know about that. I mean, I do. I love trying to sing.
Yeah.
But it's basically because there again, my commitment to the county, my first commitment's to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I try to do it and do it for Him, you know.
Well, I grew up, my dad was a Baptist preacher, and I was there whether I wanted to be or not, and had to sing, and but that's been a great part of my life, and I'm glad to hear it's part of yours as well.
You're one of them that had a drug problem when you was a kid, like my daddy, huh?
Yeah, I was
drug
drugged
you
to
to church
church.
whether you wanted to
That's
go or not.
exactly right. And
And I'm proud they did.
yeah, me too. Except I had to sit the second row on the organ side because I talked too much on the back row. Do you ever have that problem?
Well, I did a time or two whenever I would be back there, I'd look, and if I ever caught my daddy looking at me, I knowed I better shut up right quick.
Oh man, that is funny. Well, I asked you about your district, so I'm going to move to the budget. And we talked a little bit about the road budget, but why don't you explain to the people about the budget that you guys have to work with? You mentioned a little bit about all the things you're responsible for, but people are like, I pay my taxes and I want this or I want that. So why don't you share a little bit about the budget you guys have to work with and how that has to trickle down to support everything?
Well, the budget of DeKalb County runs about 17 million total. And I thought, whoa, that's a lot of money. But like I said, when it comes back to each district, we get about 175,000 to work with. I guess our road budget is probably the smallest portion of it because, you know, we have to, legislative years ago, handed down the mandates that, you know, the county is responsible for the sheriff's department, the upkeep, and the jail. So, you know, that's part of it. Of course, we have to keep up the courthouse. We have to keep up the revenue offices and circuit clerks. You know, every office is actually under the government and the control of the county commission, which sounds good, but whenever it's under their control and that, you have to fund all of them. And so it's sort of a tight rope whenever you go to going through it. Of course, you know, we have the EMA, we have 911, and it's time everybody gets their little piece of pie, it just don't leave a whole lot. That's what it boils down to. And all the agencies are important.
Yes.
And I'm not saying, you know, just we've got to fund them and they're not important. You know, all of them has their responsibility to the county and for the good of the citizens. So, and I can understand why we have to do that. But with the lack of income and all that is actually in the county, and if people really knowed how much percentage of that gasoline tax it actually goes to them, and these other taxes that they pay, you know, it's just not there. If it wasn't for outside help of doing this, you know, the average person don't pay enough taxes in their lifetime to pave a quarter of a mile of road.
Well, you know, that's one thing. People have to understand the budget and how much money you have to work with. And a lot of that, your hands are tied with salaries and, you know, you got to fund certain things and you got to have certain things. You just can't do what you want to with $17 million. You know, you just can't do it. Well, let me ask you how you work with the legislative delegation of DeKalb County, because you know as well as I do, anything we have here has to start at the legislature and trickle its way down to where you and I are and what we can and can't do. So tell us about your relationship with our legislative delegation and how you see your role as a county commissioner to work with them to help improve DeKalb County.
Well, unto a lot of people's knowledge, the county commission don't set the laws. All of these laws is actually handed down through our legislative and our Senate.
Right.
So you have to work real close with them. That's one area, I guess, that I'm blessed in, because being on the south end of the district, unlike some of the commissioners, they only got one senator and one House person to work with.
Right.
I actually have 3 senators comes into my district, and I have 6 House Representatives that touches my district. So I get to talk to them pretty regular, and of course, you know, we're all on good first name basis now, you know, and that helps a whole lot. But you know, the ACCA keeps us updated. every bill that's put up or comes into, whether it be a Senate bill or a House bill, you know, we get copies of them, what's on the floor, what's going on, who's the committees and stuff like that. And to do the best for the county, during this time, you're constantly talking to the legislators, saying, look, you know, if y'all do this, it's gonna take money away from our county. You know, we need to be bringing it in. So you have to work with them a good bit, and then by doing that, you get to build a relationship with them to where they've got opportunities to help back at times. So.
Yeah.
But,
Well, we have to work with them, and it's a good thing to work with them. But
Right.
it sounds like you're a little more blessed than the rest of them. You got 9, so have you invited them all over to supper yet?
no. I probably eat supper or breakfast with every one of them, but I'd hate to have them all at one time.
Well, I appreciate your candor in talking to them, because I know as long as they have a good relationship with you, they'll probably call you when they're unsure about how to vote a certain way, and if you're on a first name basis with them, then you're on the right track.
They do, and I've had several of them. I'm not saying all of them, but I have had several of them call and say, look, this bill's coming up. How do you feel about it? How would it affect the county, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, you're saying, hey, look, go for it. We need this. Sometimes you say, you know, well, it's good, but it needs to be tweaked. And, you know, next thing you know, it's back in the committee. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that's good. Otherwise, it's just, you know, they're going to give you something that you might not want down the road. So
Yeah.
it's good, and it's good to have a good relationship with them.
Well, speaking about good relationships, tell me how the county commissioners work together as a whole. You guys all, do you work well together? I'll just ask it very plainly.
Well, out of all the questions you've asked, you finally asked me an easy one. I can honestly say, of course, I've known most of them for years, but the county commission works as good now as it has ever worked. We're all, I feel like, level-headed. We have things come up, we can talk to it. Just one-on-one, we'll talk about it or whatnot. When we go to the table, everybody's in agreements. And, you know, I've heard tales and stuff about pencil throwing and cuss fights and everything. There's not been one thing out of the way since I've been commissioner. And that's not due to me, it's due to them other commissioners being able to work together and talk. Matter of fact, my first commission meeting, I think there was 3 newspapers there and 2 TV stations. And probably the last 5 or 6 commission meetings, we're lucky if we have 1 or 2 newspaper people call it. And they all tell me, y'all no fun. Y'all boring. Y'all get along. We come to see the fights. But, you know, we work good together, and I talk with the commissioners, you know, on a weekly basis, sometimes every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. If something's coming up or we have concerns, we go to throwing ideas at one another and try to work out of it. And by having that kind of relationship, I think the county has actually moved forward, and you can get more done with harmony than you can bickering.
Yes, you certainly can, and that is great news and great to hear. Well, let me ask you one more question before we close for the day, and I want you to look in the camera there, and there's probably somebody who's sort of on the fence. You know, they're trying to decide, are you the guy I want to keep in there, or do I want somebody new? So can you convince that listener, that person watching on television, can you convince them why you're the man that needs to continue the job you started during your last term and you need another term on the county commission?
So it's time to bag. Is that where you're at then, right?
No, I don't think begging is it. I think just
No.
telling the truth.
Yeah, well, seriously, I've touched on a lot of this. The last thing is I think the commission works good together. We've been able to accomplish a lot because we're working good together. And I believe we can continue to work for the good of the county by working together. I have completed all my schooling. As far as I know, I've been able to help just about everybody that has contacted me. to the point to where, you know, what's legal, moral, and within the ethics, I've been able to help them. Let me rephrase that, but the main thing is I was born and raised in DeKalb County. I've lived in DeKalb County my whole life. This is home. We have a lot of transplants, and I tell them I don't blame them for coming to DeKalb County. If I lived somewhere else, I'd want to come too. But like I say, it's home. It's where I live, and I've got grandkids, and I've got kids growing up in DeKalb County, so I want to do the best I can for the county. It's a passion of mine, and I love it. I love helping people. I love doing my job, and I'm going to continue to do it. And, you know, I would just ask anybody, if they're undecided, really consider me. If they don't know what to do, ask the good Lord. He'll never lead you astray.
Well, Mr. Caldwell, I think that's an excellent way to end this program. You seem like a really nice guy. I'm glad I got to meet you today. I've heard good things about you, and it's really been a joy to sit and talk with you this afternoon. You've been watching Mountain Valley Today, and we're certainly glad that you have joined us. Don't forget that you can watch it at mountainvalleynewspaper.com anytime, any of our previous shows. And also you can watch us on Thursday evenings at FTC TV Channel 6, and you can listen to us on WFPA 1400 in Fort Payne. Thank you so much, and we hope you'll join us again.